My name is Aon Duna Ingia, your presenter or your host, as the case may be, on the show. Today we're going to be looking at a pretty interesting topic, given the fact that the polity is beginning to heat up and people who have made permutations would say that things are beginning to become a little bit more clearer. However, with politics, you know that 24 hours can change the course of things automatically. But just to put it in proper view, over the weekend, we saw the primary elections that was held in Osun State ahead of the forthcoming governorship election in that particular state. And of course, it's no news right now that Adegboyega Oyetola, the incumbent governor, emerged winner of that primaries with a whopping 222,169 votes, beating his closest rivals as well. But some would say that that was a contest between two political bigwigs, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and, of course, Ralph Aregbesola, who is the Minister of Interior. How does that play generally in the polity going ahead? Don't forget that there's also some serious contention as well ahead of the upcoming gubernatorial elections in Osun State as well, where primary elections of the People's Democratic Party in Osun State, Bankole Omisore, a former special assistant, new media to ex-Senate President Bukola Saraki, on Saturday advocated that Senator Ademola Adeleke is the best choice to clinch the party's ticket and help defeat the ruling All Progressive Congress APC in the state. Now, Bankole Omisore emerged the winner of the PDP primary election in Osun State. Well, that is what we're going to be looking at. The topic we're going to be looking at today is ahead of governorship elections, chances of the PDP in Ekiti and Osun States. I have a guest in the studio. When we come back from this break, we'll meet our guests. I will go right into the discussion. Stay with us.
Nigerian governors.
Welcome back. The program is the Nigerian Governor's Life, and thank you for staying with us. My guest on the program today is a one-time aide, spokesman of former governor of Edo State, Comrade Adams Oshomole, and an active member or a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party as well. Well, he has been in the news lately for a number of what a lot of people would consider controversial reasons, but he has made his case very clear, or his argument very clear about where he stands as far as the presidential election is concerned. But we are not talking about the presidential elections today. The focus today is on the forthcoming elections in Ekiti State and Osun State as well. My guest today on the program is no other person but Mr. Kazeem Afegwa. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
On very short notice, I must say, and I really appreciate that. So, you saw the activities. You're a member of the PDP, of course, and you have friends across the board as well. What is your assessment looking at the primary elections that have been going on so far across all political parties, major political parties, going into the governorship elections in Ekiti and Osun State? What has been your impression about the exercises so far? Bearing in mind as well that there was so much talk about the provisions in the Constitution that only restricted governorship elections or at primary level to only direct primaries. But now we see political parties conveniently adopting just the direct primaries alone. What is your assessment? What do you make out of all of this?
Well, the decisions of parties to use the direct primary may be a function of the position of the leadership. Perhaps maybe what they felt will suit their own aspirations with respect to making the process less cumbersome, or perhaps allowing more people to participate. But you know, we have seen scenarios where they said some persons scored 258,000 during primaries in the Anambra State, a member of APC, and in the re-election, he didn't score 50,000. So that put a lot of question mark on the credibility of using that direct primary approach. I want to believe that the case of Osun, with respect to Adegboyega Oyetola, coasting home to victory with 222,169 votes will be a departure from what we saw in Anambra. I'm hoping so. And well, for the kind of, activities, that heralded that particular primaries, I was waiting to see an apocalypse, kind of, given the role of the former governor, his predecessor, and the support he was giving to his former SSG, Adeoti. I was waiting to see some kind of political apocalypse that will, undercut the incumbent governor. But in all the wards of the state and in all the 30 local governments, Oyetola won everywhere.
Including
even the ward of the Honorable Minister and all that. And it goes to tell you that when persons want to play the role of God in the lives of men, men will also rise up to defend that which is legitimate of their own aspiration. And I think that's what happened in Osun. I'm quite happy that, despite all the noise, all the effort to undercut a godfather, so to speak.
And all the media spectacle as well.
And all of that, all the razzmatazz of few days to the primaries, we saw Osun seemingly looking so tranquil, so peaceful, and people are going about their business after the primaries. So my position, and this is my personal position, is that in life, you need people to ride on their back to get to certain positions. But please, when you get to those positions and you got to a point in your life that you say you think that you have come of age, still maintain some level of decorum, and relationship with those who you think are no longer useful in your life. So, because for me, I hate to listen to ingrates talk about or try to undermine those who have helped them before to become who they are in the society.
It's interesting that you're mentioning this. We saw also what played out in Edo State. I'm wondering what actually is the difference with what happened in Edo State, because I recall that you were vehemently opposed to the emergence of Obaseki, the current governor of the state, flying the flag of the APC and what have you, of the PDP,
PDP,
I beg your pardon. So what is the difference in all of this? Because to the general public, it appears to them, for them, it was a case of a would-be godfather being defeated as well. Perhaps similar to what we've seen in Osun State.
No, it's not similar. You see, the wrong narrative were put out there for people to cajole the people in the belief that it was a godfather that was on rampage, so to speak. The underpinning point is that of persons being ungrateful to those who make them. In the case of Edo, I came out openly. I didn't pretend. I don't know how to pretend. To say that, no, you cannot give ticket to someone who was just entering your party, who were already set for primaries. And you just came, you surrendered the ticket, the deputy position, and all that, without negotiating power. No one does that. Power is one when you acquire it. It's another when you want to distribute and share powers among all the component parts. There are people who have been sustaining the legacies of that party before you came on board. Something has to give. They didn't listen to me. They said I was a Rabu Rauza. They called me all kinds of names. But today, I'm vindicated. The issue in Edo is that of harmonization. In the case of Osun, we have a scenario, the predecessor in Minister of Interior, Ralph Aregbesola, wanted his own former SSG. He felt this one was imposed on him ab initio. And so because listening to what he said, both in Yoruba language and what was transcribed, he said that when they gave the incumbent governor to him, certain conditions were spelled out, but that the governor reneged in all of that. But again, I asked myself, once you have given power, you have left power, allow the incumbent to run the process. Well, I don't understand this scenario of people thinking that they will want to be in government by proxy. You have been a governor, you want to install someone who will be a proxy, even if you are putting your son your own biological son to succeed you, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he has his own circle of friends who will be different from your own friends. He has his own ideology which will be different from yours.
So are you suggesting that friends are
differently?
Are you suggesting that governors and those in political offices run government with their friends?
You can't run away. You can't run a government with your enemies. If you need your friends, you need your associates, you need people who believe in your own political philosophy, to your own political leaning, for them to buy into your programs and policies that you're trying to implement. You need a team, and building a team, what is crucial is the mutuality of your experiences. And what is crucial is how you are able to coordinate all the factors, both negative and positive currents. They have to come together to produce current. So in that kind of situation, you are likely, going to work as a team if you deal with people who you already know, and not bringing strange bedfellows, oftentimes, who you may not know, who may not even agree with you. Only a few governors will take people who are diametrically opposed to, to their positions, and because they want some kind of self-criticism. When they are in cabinet meetings, when they are trying to throw up a policy, when they are trying to work out a program, they need people to critique them and all of that. That happened during our time when I was a commissioner in Edo State under Adams Oshiomhole. You have to sit back, you have to interrogate everything coming up. You must own an opinion, you must disagree to agree. So that's the beauty of collective responsibility. Okay,
let's move on now. And the major concern right now is we're moving in June. We're going to have the elections in Ekiti, and Osun State will be followed up with in July. How ready is, I know you're not here on the behest of the PDP, but you are a chieftain of the PDP and you know the inner workings of the party. How prepared is the PDP going into this election?
Well, I want to believe that the leadership of the party will put in place machinery to douse all the initial tension that attended the primaries in both Ekiti and Osun. They need to, consciously and deliberately engage the process of healing the wounds. In any contest, you expect one or two persons to win. In the case of governorship, only one person will be a governorship candidate. So, and you see, what I often advocate is to make sure that you see the process as very transparent, a process that is free and fair, so that even anyone who has cause to contend or to complain about the outcome will see that the process was ab initio, free and fair, and transparent. So there will be less rancor, less acrimony, and we'll be able to paper up all of those skirmishes that are likely to rear their ugly heads, to present a formidable front to confront the other parties. In the case of Ekiti, well, those who know better in terms of party management have said that, they had a good candidate. I personally would have wanted a Segun Oni, the former governor, to come on board if we want to defeat the APC in Ekiti. Because I was looking at a situation where, based on geopolitical balances, the people would rather prefer a man who will just come and do one term, as opposed to another one who will do eight years. So, if you put him on the scoreboard, on the scorecard, you are likely going to have more sympathizers voting for a Segun Oni than any other person. But the structure of the party is in the hands of some other persons, and so they wouldn't want to bargain, because politics is all about constructive engagement, collective bargaining. And so if the bargain fails to produce the desired result, what is available becomes the desired result.
But in clear terms, going against the chosen, so to say, of the chosen candidates of the APC, that's more like going against the incumbent. What chances, genuine chances?
I can tell you for free that Ekiti State under Kayode Fayemi is not within the grip of the governor. And I can tell you that putting the right indices at play, that PDP would defeat the candidate of the APC if and I put that word if, there is some level of 70% peaceful conduct, devoid of the usual vote buying and what have you that has become peculiar with Ekiti State. So now, if we look at the candidates and we look at them, the governor, Kayode Fayemi, is an outgoing governor. He may want to install a successor. But again, the factors on ground may not speak to that, because in terms of performance, it's below average by my own reading. I've read quite a number of literatures from Ekiti State. I've read quite a number of persons who know Ekiti, and I've also interacted, aside from visiting Ekiti like 3-4 times in the last 2 years. So I have seen that his performance level is not cheering news for an average Ekiti person. So the candidate of PDP, if we're able to paper all the skirmishes and all of you, or the fallout of the primaries, is very prepared and ready to confront this election, and by the special grace of God, with a little more pluck, will defeat the APC candidate.
Okay, let's move on now to Osun State, where a lot of people would have expected that Ademola Adeleke will emerge the front runner for the party. But it appears there were a lot of challenges and all of that. Why do you think that was the situation? We recall a couple of years ago, it was a close call between Ademola Adeleke and the incumbent governor, Adegboyega Oyetola. So what has changed between this time, from that point to this time? What has actually gone wrong for Adeleke? You
see, there were quite a number of issues in that election. That was like an impromptu election, and we have to drag Senator Adeleke into the fray at a very short notice. And don't forget that the sympathy of the older Adeleke that died and all of that counted in our favor. The PDP won that election, that is not in doubt, because from all the algorithms, from all the realities that
the Supreme Court said differently.
The Supreme Court, you see, we should stop idea of dragging and bringing courts into our electoral process.
No, but if we are law-abiding Nigerians and the Supreme Court has declared an election valid, why should you say the contrary?
I am telling you that Supreme Court may harbor his own position based on law of what is presented to it.
Which is binding on all Nigerians, including politicians as well.
That is why Adegboyega is still governor.
Okay.
And we are not contemplating that. But in our heart of hearts, we know, except we are trying to shy away from the truth of the situation, we know that Adeleke won that election. You recall that they had to declare it inconclusive in just one word or one. What was the vote margin? Less than 500. And when they were to do that re-election, they were tying handkerchief in the hands of persons who are APC voters.
But isn't this something that is popular among?
I'm using the security agencies to prevent others who are not carrying that handkerchief, preventing them from voting. It was like a militarized situation. I'm twisting the people to produce, the votes that will make an Adegboyega the governor. Well, it's okay if you look at that. I look at what is happening today. You say maybe it's law of karma, but the law of karma has not played out well. But the PDP, having used Adeleke in the last time, may have a superior reason why they are using another candidate now, based on the outcome of the primaries. So for me, I will always insist, do not see elective positions, appointive positions as a do or die. And let me give you a scenario. In 2018, I bought form. I wanted to contest for House of Reps in my Esako Federal constituency. I paid 1.5 million. Having bought form, I filled the form and looking for nominators so that I can submit. I was told that no, they are not going to zone the position to my to my local government, that it will go to somewhere else. I didn't say I was going to break my head. It's my legitimate right. It's a constitutional right.
Was your money?
Nobody refunded my money and all of that. But I'm saying that I let it be, and I work assiduously for the presidential elections of 2019 of the PDP and deliver my community. You see, once we have this attitude that our bread and butter is not located within party positions, either elective or appointing, or you have something doing that is giving you, you don't need too much money to live your life, except you're a greedy person. Like I keep telling people, okay, in 2023, my supporters are saying I should come and contest for House of Reps. And I told them I'm consulting. If the consultation supports a journey to my area, I'll put up myself. But that word desperation should not be an operative word in the way and manner we confront party positions or elected positions in this country. If you lose an election or a nomination, you are not saying, just take it with magnanimity and be magnanimous in defeat, or even try to support. You never can tell. Maybe your own person will come next time. You'll be needing support of another people.
And Ayatollah has been said, Adebayo Ayatollah, from reports we have heard from Osun State, the people in Osun State seem to be pleased with his level of his administration so far, particularly when you look at the performance of the former, putting it side by side with the performance of the former, with the current Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, who is actually his predecessor. But what are the realistic chances of the PDP in Osun State?
Our chances are high in that the APC is already embroiled in crisis. I know that having humiliated the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, I know that with the outcome of these primaries, aside from him sitting there in the corner of his home to be licking his wounds, they will always want to look for a reason to justify whatever position they intend to take, and that is seeking the legal redress. I've read his publicity, his media aide wrote about what they will do next and complain about the discrepancies, the infractions, and the manipulations. All of that is crying over spilled milk. But what I'm telling you that with the kind of crisis, I want them to sustain that crisis, to give an opportunity to PDP, if we're able to prepare ourselves, prepare our own skirmishes and all of that, so that we can confront Osun with the best of intentions, with unity of purpose, and see how we can reclaim our mandate that was stolen.
Besides what happened in Lagos State, where an incumbent was defeated at the primaries, it's almost impossible for an incumbent to lose an election in Nigeria. Do you see that narrative changing?
You can beat an incumbent if you put your ass together. You see, all of these things are just, there are quite a number of things that go behind the scene in any political emanations. You see a lot of people who are aggrieved, who can play the spoiler role. That's why I keep hammering on unity of purpose, magnanimity in defeat, and being open-minded in terms of embracing the victor of any process. You see, out of the desperation has to be reduced. People must cultivate that idea or that habit of ensuring that, oh, if it is not me, I don't want to spoil the cook. No, they must cultivate that open mind to embrace the outcome of processes, no matter the imperfections, because life is all about managing imperfections. Even in marriages, it's about managing imperfections. It's about managing ideologies, political leanings, and what have you. But some people do not have the temper and the temperament to be able to moderate their outbursts when issues like this come to the front burner. So for me as an individual, and for me as a political player, I will always advocate that, no, it's not a do-or-die affair. If I'm contesting a process and I'm defeated, or they say to go and sit down, I will go and sit down and enjoy the peace of my home. It might be that it is not my turn. Yeah. It might be someone else's turn. But the monetized Nigerian politics and the fact that a lot of these public positions are not checkmated in terms of democratic dividends. They are not checkmated in terms of even the attitude of those who govern us. The level of corruption, the level of profligacy, and all of this, financial malfeasance tend to make the whole process heavily monetized. And in the process, affect the psyche of an ordinary person who see that as point of getting rich quick.
All right. We can't leave this conversation, we can't end this conversation without touching a little bit on the electoral umpire, that is INEC. We saw what happened to the BVAS device across the FCT elections. Quickly, in less than a minute, what is your take as regards the performance of INEC? Yes, there was some level of success at Anambra. We've seen some inconsistencies in the FCT polls, councillorship polls. Going into these major elections, which might be a pointer to what 2023 may look like, what level of confidence do you have in INEC moving forward?
Well,
in less than a minute.
Yeah, very quickly, I think INEC must be commended, and INEC should be commended for even coming up with that BVAS, which is almost like eliminating what incident form that used to be the bulwark of the rigging mentality of politicians. Now that has been eliminated. What INEC needs to do now is to improve on that. My worry is actually the fact that there is voter apathy, because in some areas in the FCT that you mentioned, where you have 59,000 registered voters, only 4,500 were voting. That's a far cry if you look at it.
In some centers, there were no votes at all.
In terms of percentage. That means INEC must up the game, the political parties must up the game in terms of campaigning, doing voters reorientation. And it's because the continuous display of apathy towards voting is like an unwritten condemnation of those who are presiding over us. That, what does our vote amount to? So votes must count. INEC must retool its voter education programs to involve the political party so that it will be an all-inclusive game, because the more you have more people endorsing and voting for candidates, the better for the outcome, so that the level of credibility of the process will be higher than what we have now. Because you have 1.5 million voters in Anambra, 1.7 million voters, only less than 500,000 voted. That's not a good commentary. I want to see a situation where more voters turn out on election day to vote, so that in the final analysis, we will not be complaining about those who are there. If you say your votes don't count, when the idiots are elected by minor votes, then it becomes a problem for all of us.
All right. I'm sure we can go on and on. It's always a delight having to have the conversations with you, Mr. Kazeem Afegwa. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure.
Well, that's about the size of the program today, and we have been looking ahead of the governorship elections, chances of the PDP in Ekiti and Osun State. And what better way to discuss this topic other than talk with a chieftain of the PDP, the People's Democratic Party. Well, a major issue he raised, I mean, with over 200,000 votes at the primary election, we'll keep our fingers crossed to see what number or the number of people who will file out in the month of June, or rather July, to vote for either one of the candidates who will be, any of the candidates across the 14 political parties who will be vying for the office of the governorship election as well. Is Adegboyega Oyetola going to amass this number of votes or over that? We'll wait to find out. Thank you so much for being a part of the program today. My name is Aon Dunanga. Join us same time, same station for another edition of the program, The Nigerian Governor's Life. Good evening.
Nigerian governors.